comic books, movies, TV, and more. Nerds are everywhere. It's time to assemble! It's Nerds United.
That happens. Yeah, we didn't do well. You did a YouTube video last week because you had a little adventure with part of the family.
That's right.
Yeah, it seemed very fun. But we missed the podcast because you fell asleep at 9 o'clock on Friday, and then on Saturday I had UFC pay-per-view I was watching, and we tried to get together beforehand, but it just didn't work out, and then but here we are.
UFC, the United Food Competition.
That's right. I'm a big foodie,
and there was some controversy in that competition in one of the
title fights
competitions.
Yes, one of the fights there was somebody who won by disqualification. I would go into it further, but I don't know if anybody that watches our YouTube channel they actually care about it. But yeah, somebody won by DQ.
Was it legit?
It was a legit DQ. Yeah, absolutely. The person who originally had the title, you can't knee a downed opponent, and the other opponent was definitely down, and he definitely kneed him. So it was a DQ. So, but all the rest of the fights were great. So,
that amazing shoulder shot right here. So, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago on Nerds United on YouTube, at the ripe gestation age of 34 weeks and 1 hour, our twin boys were born. One of them is home and awake-ish right down here at my side. So I'm, keeping an eye on him. He's in that almost asleep period. So as long as we don't get too excited, I think we'll be okay.
I'll let you know if I see him like crawling around at the back.
If you see a 2-week-old crawling around, then we have bigger problems.
Yeah.
Be like calling in a priest for an exorcism or something. They're not supposed to do that, Mike.
Maybe he just advanced. Who knows?
He was a whole pound bigger than his brother.
Okay.
Which up until like week 29, they were neck and neck. So he got all the nutrients and took off like a rocket.
And I see from Facebook that you already have them decked out in their Cornhusker gear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming your first son was the same way.
Not that early.
Okay. Because you learned, though. You learned.
Yes, those Nebraska blankets, we didn't find them, and honestly, until like mid to late January. So we got one for each of our boys, and we got one sent in the mail to best friend of the show, Josh, who's one of the reasons I'm a Husker fan, and he and his beautiful bride had their first child the day after our sons were born. So,
yes,
it's true.
That's unbelievable. And then I believe in some of the photos from the hospital, you are also wearing Cornhusker gear.
And a lot of photos from the hospital I'm wearing.
Okay. now, is that done on purpose? Like, you're like, I know pictures are going to get taken, so I'm going to wear this.
That is part of it. The other part of it is, like, I would have worn other T-shirts because I was going to the hospital. I was going to be comfortable.
Right.
But I'm a little on the heavier side. So some of these shirts that I wore fit a little bit more comfortably than, like I couldn't wear my Green Lantern. I think I did wear my Green Lantern shirt one day. But anyway,
probably.
I couldn't wear like my St. Louis Battlehawks shirt because it's a little snug around the midsection area. So,
by the way, I don't blame you on that because I remember when Nolan was born. I was living in Kentucky. That's where he was born, obviously. And once he was born, and I was at the hospital and stuff. I purposely wore a St. Louis Rams shirt, not because I was a fan of St. Louis Rams. I can't even name one player on the St. Louis Rams. I know they're not a football team anymore now. I know they moved, but even when they were there, I couldn't name one. But it had St. Louis on it. I'm like, I'm going to represent at least close to my hometown. So, yeah, I totally understand, Greg.
When we went and I don't know, I think they might be able to. Well, of course they can, because I made a point to mention it in our family outing video. I was wearing a St. Louis Cardinals jersey. Yeah. So anyway, Mike, let's get into this week's video. I know you've got a topic that you're very excited about talking about, and that's excellent. But before we do, did you know that star of screen and stage, Keanu Reeves, recently got into the comic book business?
I did not.
I feel like we talked about it, but maybe not. And if so, that's okay. Or maybe at one point we shared the link, but never discussed it. So it was not this past week, but like, let's say a week and a half ago, New Comic Book Day, the first one of the month of March. And from Boom Studios, it is Berserker. And I don't know if you can tell, by the way, you see Keanu Reeves right there?
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you can tell, but that main character has a little resemblance to Ted Theodore Logan.
Yes. I know you haven't read much of it yet, or any of it, I'm not sure.
True, to the latter.
But, I'm curious. Whenever I see a celebrity is involved with comics, I'm like, how much are they involved? Are they just, hey, just put my name on there, I'll say it's okay? Or are they like writing stories? Is he drawing something? Did they bring him ideas? And, what does he do?
Written by Keanu Reeves and Matt Kint, who Matt, I know, has certainly worked his way up the ladder. But when I first started Nerds United, and my very first episode was with a fellow Cornhusker by the name of Van Jensen, who went on to write for DC for Green Lantern, The Flash. Actually, I believe it was Green Lantern Corps. Then he went on he was an ambassador of some variety. It's been a long time since I've had him on the show, if you can tell. But he was an ambassador of some type under the Obama administration. But we used to do this thing, it lasted like 2 or 3 episodes, where I said, who would you say if you had to pick, all across, everybody or people you don't even know, who would you say are like the biggest nerds? Like at the time, I was listening to obviously Kevin Smith podcast, Chris Hardwick podcast, which is called, or was called at the time, Nerdist. And he said, like Patton Oswalt, for one of the reasons being that filibuster episode or extended scene from Parks and Rec. And he mentioned, I can't remember the third, but the other name that was recognizable was Matt Kint, who was a writer at the time for Dark Horse. So Matt is a name that I have heard about from the very beginning here at Nerds United, and reached out to him several times for interviews, but he's always been busy. So, but now he's working with John Wick himself. So good job to both of them. I'm excited to get it. And what I like about this book is it's not, this is not a knock on like your standard comic books. This is, for example, this is Bloodshot. Bloodshot, part 2, number 11, whatever. And it's, your kind of typical thin.
Yeah.
Berserker number 1. It's like double.
Oh, okay.
So you get a little bit more bang for your buck. And double check pricing here. All right, so this is $3.99, but Berserker only $4.99. So
that's not bad.
And I also picked up, at the recommendation of close personal friend of the show, Kevin Smith, who raves frequently about Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run. So I picked up from the clearance section, or the pre-owned, previously loved, whatever. So I picked up Alan Moore's Swamp Thing book 1. So I've got a little bit of reading to do.
Yes, indeed. All right. So, Greg, besides reading, one thing that I've been doing lately is watching episodes of the X-Men animated series, right?
On Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus. Now, if you think about the movies, the X-Men movies, a lot of them are really good. Some of them, okay. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so there's the first three that you know are like the Patrick Stewart ones.
Right.
You have First Class. You have Days of Future Past. You have Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. So 7 movies. I'm not counting X-Men Origins Wolverine. I'm not counting The Wolverine. Just talking about like the ones that have the title X-Men that include more than one X-Men.
Right.
I would say, might catch hell for this. I would say that of the 7, the majority of them are underwhelming.
Probably. Okay, now we got to talk about it. X-Men. These are good ones. X-Men 2. X-Men Last Stand is not. X-Men First Class is. X-Men Days of Future Past, I'm still putting it good. Apocalypse, no. And Phoenix, I'm burning again. No.
All right, so maybe perhaps I don't. We're not a overly negative podcast, although I was told by a coworker this week after being gone for 2 weeks out of the office, and my colleagues had to pick up the slack of like carrying the load of my cynicism, and it really made him like bitter and jaded. And so we were talking about that, he and I, and like our like assistant manager, for lack of a better term, and his assistant manager is like, "Yeah, Greg, you're like charmingly cynical, but the other guy, and I'm not going to out him on the show here, but he's like, and you were just bitter and jaded." I was like, charmingly cynical. I don't even know. But anyway, we do try to be more positive. So perhaps I was a little bit harsh because the ones that I have trouble going back and rewatching. Like I couldn't tell you last time I saw X-Men 2, X2, X-Men United, or Last Stand. Like the first X-Men movie is, I don't know, like I put it as okay. I know
I can understand that,
and I know the reason being is it was the first one, so they didn't know what they didn't know. But you have and I think we're going to talk about it here soon. But you have that line where they get into the Blackbird, and like Wolverine's in the first time in this black leather, and he's like, "Ugh, you guys really wear this stuff?" And Cyclops says, Would you prefer, or something like that, yellow spandex?
The spandex, yeah.
But I really liked X-Men First Class, and I really enjoyed Days of Future Past. Apocalypse, like it's not one I ever go out of my way to watch, and I've seen Dark Phoenix, and I don't think it was as bad as people wanted to say. But again, out of the 7, like the only ones that have true or rewatchable, like the only ones I ever go out of my way to rewatch can maybe be Days of Future Past, First Class, and just because it was the first one.
I can understand that, yeah. So we have that, and like I said, the one main complaint that people have throughout that I've heard is they want comic book accurate costumes. And by comic book accurate, because we know a lot of people don't read comic books, or else the people at the comic book shops, Twilight Comics, Swansea, Illinois, would be millionaires. And I don't think they are. But so they mean cartoon. They mean cartoon accurate is what they mean, right? And I know when I was younger, I watched the X-Men animated cartoon. I know Greg did for sure.
Yes.
And like I said, I started rewatching it, and I realized, and I'm not. By the way, I just rewatch every once in a while. Usually, actually, I'm doing cardio when I work out. And I don't plan on watching all the episodes, but I realized that I don't think we remember the costumes, because I am going to try and bring. Okay, actually, this first one, it's not a great picture, and it's not a costume, but I want you to check out the eyebrows. Hold on, let's see if I can do this. Can you see that?
I can, yeah,
Look at these eyebrows. Is that what you want in your movie?
kind of.
Do you want eyebrows like this?
I'm trying to think of what movie was it? And I think it was a comedy, but it was supposed to be some British or Scottish guy who just had ridiculously thick and bushy like eyebrows that went up, and that's that's what I want that to be.
Okay, so then let me get that one out of the way. Let me see which one's next. Okay, all right, this one. Let me make sure it's going to come up right. Okay, yeah. I'm going to have you guys, before I show it, Greg, what color, don't look it up either, what color is Wolverine's hair?
Blue.
Craig, you are correct.
Yeah.
It is blue. I didn't remember that. Is that what people do? People want Hubert Jackman to come back with blue hair? Is that what you want? By the way, this is the costume some people wanted him to wear.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's iconic, though.
Iconically crazy. All right. I have another one. Okay, this is the one, Greg, you've seen this one already. This is the one that started it. I almost pressed stop video. This is Sabretooth. Now, I don't know if you can tell, viewers. This is basically just painted on.
I think it's spandex.
No. Because when he turns around, there's been a couple times where you've seen a little crack when I watch the cartoon. It is not spandex. This is just... You
don't think it's just exceptionally well-made, form-fitted spandex?
No.
See, like, I think about that ridge of yellow fur, like, up over his traps. I look at that as, think of like an 70s, 80s, or 90s, like, football linebacker or something like that with the huge neck roll behind him. That's what I see, or that's what I think of when I see that massive tuft of fur. So you think he's just naked?
Basically. And by the way, that yellow, that's actually just back hair.
That's fine.
We've all been there. Okay. I got two more for you. I'm not going to show this. Okay, I'm going to show this one. This one's not as bad. It just kind of looks weird. It's, it's okay. I mean, just the color scheme is weird. I don't know. Also, they call him Magnus in the cartoon. And apparently it's Eric Magnus Lensher, which I'm like, they don't call him Eric. I think they just wanted to call him Magnus because Magneto. And then they were like, wait, the comic books, it's supposed to be Eric. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's Eric Magnus.
Right.
So I just think the color is weird on this one. Now, this one, I think we should have. This is the one that if you're going to do comic book accurate, do this one. Okay? Hold on.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I would say like the Cyclops one. Like I'm waiting for that like honest to God true like cartoon, the same cartoon that we're looking at here. Version of like the Cyclops costume. Because again, black leather, it didn't do it for me. But
Greg, you don't think that we should do this in the movies?
Well, first of all, again, that's the artist's liberty. I mean, unless you're getting an adult film actress to play Jean Grey, which I'm sure they do in like a one of those parody movies that or I was going to make a bad pun, but I was going to say On the Rise. But I don't. I mean, who would you cast in that role? Again, I don't. I mean, I think we're. First of all, I mean, I don't think the cartoons of now are the female characters are drawn as voluptuously.
No.
I'm kind of surprised we got away with it back in the 90s, but it was also like the Rob Liefeld days. So
just the 90s.
Over exaggerating everything. It's not a reprint. It's like a reboot of X-Men. And I think I only got like one issue. And it was Jean Grey coming to, Xavier, Charles Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. But there was like pre-Blue for Beast, Bobby Drake, Iceman was skating around and at the time showing a lot of interest in a female, which he doesn't do anymore. Had Warren Worthington III. But it was like peak 90s, like everybody's, it looks like they're American Gladiators on steroids. And then of course Jean Grey, being Jean Grey, was strutting along looking, like I said, drawn very curvy. I don't know how to phrase it, just like, that, and again, that was a book I bought off a spinner rack in a grocery store and I think my mom paid for it.
Well, yeah.
That's and I think, to bring it back full circle to your hometown, I believe it was at Trenton IGA.
Oh, okay. Good old T-Town IGA.
Yeah.
So, home with the most expensive food.
Not really. I don't know if you've been to a Deerberg's lately.
I'd have to ask my mom, but to compare like a Deerberg's and an IGA.
I don't know, because Deerberg's, I always walk out feeling shell shocked. So
yeah.
All right. So no, those are good. And it actually brought about a topic in my mind that I think we're going to carry over and discuss on the podcast. And that is, I'm wearing white tonight. A, I'm lazy. Two, I don't know if you can see here the stairs that go upstairs, and my knees bother me a little bit today. Thank you. And but I'm wearing white in protest because I have a lot of DC shirts. I've got a couple Batman shirts, a couple Green Lantern shirts, a Superman shirt, things like that. And I feel like we've covered all the mainstreams. You have Flash shirts, you're wearing a Captain Marvel shirt. I want more obscure references in my comic book T-shirts. Damn it. And that's what we're going to talk about. And I don't know if you know about the show WandaVision. They wrapped up last week. We'll probably talk a little bit about that. But that's on the podcast at jitterymonkey.com. So that'll do it for this episode of Nerds United on YouTube. For Mike Luther, for the little guy, I'm Greg Mahochko. Be kind.
And rewind.